demoed last year for a sponsor, and this year they were like, "Hey, we want you to talk, so get up on stage." So we've been setting it up for a bunch of months, and hopefully we'll be back again next year.
You know what? It was really good. You know what? We need more of those
Thanks,
like
dude.
talks like that. We really do because it's. I was watching the audience. Like I think the things is when I do those things and I go and watch other people, I really pay attention to the audience because I do those things too. I speak on stage,
Yeah,
and I always kind of want to see how's the reception. How are people taking that in? And when I saw the lineup after
yeah,
of having to go shake your hand,
yeah.
and I had to run because we were doing something else. I had to run. I was late for, but I was watching that. I was like, they registered.
It's so funny because I try to speak pretty straightforward and pretty freely with the way that I do stuff. I don't. I'm sarcastic. I'm to the point. Some people take me as being kind of rude or offensive in the way that I speak, but that's a lot of those places are like they're the ones that are struggling with their kitchens. They're the ones that are loving
Yeah.
the menu that they have. They don't think anymore about it. But in reality, I want to be a person who can speak freely and make a change.
Well,
So
the thing is I think that in a way, I think they like there. I saw that, but you registered then with them.
yeah,
It's not the fluff. We're done with the fluff shit.
I know. How
And
done are we?
oh, for fuck's sakes!
So crazy.
If I have to listen to another fluff shit fucking talk,
Yeah,
that's why I love. I'm recording right now, by the way. I
yeah,
love our show because that's the shit I don't want. I don't want to sit on here and talk about this is what you got to do to your food cost.
right.
And I love all those guys that do that. Don't get me wrong. You guys do a great job. But unless you're living the restaurant industry inside it right now, I
Yeah,
don't think you have the I don't think you have I don't want to say this in the most respectful way. I don't think you have the balls to be
yeah,
doing that because I just got out of a 12-hour shift
yeah.
online or 16-hour shift in my restaurant, and then I'm going to go tell you what I think you need to do with your labor,
Yeah.
then you can talk it.
What
But
it's
if you're
one of the
not, it drives
I
me crazy.
I'm immersed in food
Yeah.
cost every day. And people laugh at me because they're like, dude, it's so funny. Like, how much I'm paying for wings and how much I pay for ground beef. And, it's because, honestly, for the last 57, 67 minutes, I've been on the phone with one of my clients who owns the restaurant, the gentleman that I spoke of when I was talking at
Mhm.
the show. I was just on the phone with him breaking down food cost again. We were just going through the pricing and inventory. We were just discussing yields. Okay, you guys are holding 80 pounds of ground beef in house. How many burgers do you sell a week? How many shepherd's pie are you guys doing a week? How many Cincinnati chili are we doing a week? You need 20 for Shep, you need 20 for chili, and you're going to need how many burgers? We got 4-ounce and 6-ounce. What direction you want to go? And he was like, fuck. He's like, dude, I didn't, now I get it. Now I know what you're talking about. And it's like when we're able to break that stuff down and have a conversation and cost out a recipe without even having the pricing in front of you, you can write a recipe at that point. And when owners learn how to do this stuff, so I'm going to tell you, I just did this. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. I just got notice I have to do this and I'm late behind it. So, I've got a session coming out called Owners and Chefs. Who owns the kitchen? Okay.
Ugh.
Because what we see, and you'll know when I talk about this, is I say it all the time. Like, I have one owner who's actually a partner of mine. And the chef that we had in one of the properties that wasn't a property that I was involved
Mhm.
in, I consulted on it and did that. But one of the big things is this guy eats out like 6 nights a week and he eats at great places. It's not like he's going out for a shitty meal just to find something. He seeks places out. He searches places out to find great food, takes pictures of it, would come back and show it to the chef, and the chef would be like, yeah, we can't do that. It's not going to match our concept. It doesn't match what we're doing. It's not this. It's so much bravado and so much ego that gets
Yeah.
involved in it. Whereas, let me tell you something, as the owner of a restaurant, when any owner came to me as a chef and said, hey, this is something I'd really like to see, like I would have that product recreated for them within 2 days.
Wow.
Hey, buddy, I want to show you something real quick. Take a look at this. Let me show you what you showed me a burger the other night that had this, this, and this. Here's what I made. Oh, and it's the little things like that that if we just push the ego aside and we allow the creativity to move forward and take over and allow other avenues of creativity to help us, then we're all going to be super successful. You have a restaurant owner who's making money, who's seeing the stuff go on a menu or on a special or feature board that you want to put up or that they want to put up. You're making them happy. You're still doing your creativity, and we're making money at the same time, man. How hard is that?
Do you find chefs, like, how do you put that ego away with chefs? You got to have a trick. You must have a wicked trick.
I mean, honestly, what my trick is I let every single chef know that before I start anything, I am owner first, because they're the ones who are paying me to be in that property.
I love that.
So my job is to make sure that the owners are financially sound within their business. And once I figure that stuff out, then I'm going to go back and I'm going to be like, yo, man, you're asking the chef for a food cost on a weekly basis, an inventory, proper purchasing, matching a budget, a labor that matches a budget, plus you're asking for creative food. This individual is giving that to you. Okay. So why are we not sharing the financials with this person? Why are we not sharing how many specials we sold during a week so that they can then make a determination in 2 months if we're going to put it on a quarterly menu? Like having these conversations. And then I have a property right now who the owner called me yesterday and said, I don't know what to do. My chef is just kind of not doing what they're supposed to do. And I said, all right, we're going to get on a program. And our program takes 90 days. Okay. I'm going to write out the roadmap that I talked about during my session. Everybody's coming to my house. I'm having a huge party, but I'm not going to tell you what time the party is.
Exactly.
Where it is, we have to share our roadmap for what we're looking for, of what we believe success is. So for me, my roadmap, let's just go with, say, my assistant. Okay. My assistant, who's a wonderful human being. She's been with me for 7 years. She knows me. She gets me. She understands me. The only thing that I have for her is to check the email every morning and every night. That's all you got to do. I don't need you to do anything in between, but check the email in the morning and at night so that we're on the same page. You're able to reply to stuff that comes through. You're able to see what's out there right now. And at the same time, you're able to do your job, your other world job. She helps a couple of other chef friends of mine. She does social media. She's got a full-time job. Plus she's pregnant. Okay. So she's got a lot on her plate. Right. Exactly. And then I use an app called Trello. Trello is where I put every single thought that I have, no matter what it is, from a new product to a possible new company, to a concept, to a dish, to something I need done. And all I ask her to do is to check Trello every day, beginning and end, and check email beginning and end. That's it. That's my roadmap for her for success. Now, there's other things in there. She's got to confirm every hotel I stay in. She's got to make sure that every call that we're on, that it's confirmed for that day. Like, there is work that goes in there, but my only two real, and those are what I call my nuts, my non-negotiable, unalterable terms, systems, and standards. But when it comes to what I require of her on a day, yeah, I know I'm a weird dude. Run with it. Run with it.
Good shit. It's good shit.
I read a book once. Well, let me back up. So this way, my assistant knows exactly what she needs to do and what my expectations are, because I've shared that. So my 90-day process is, okay, chef, here's the deal. This is what we're going to do today. This is what I need from you. This is my roadmap or my request for what you're going to get done on a weekly basis. Okay. And yeah, these are my new headphones. They were $79, dude. I'm so happy with them.
79. That's a steal nowadays.
Right. Exactly. Like $79 for a great pair of headphones. And it's odd. They don't have a crazy brand name to bring them up to $379.
That's good.
So I have this conversation. I say, okay, chef, here's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for an inventory on a weekly basis. I'm looking for you to run 5 features a week. That's it. All I'm looking for is an appetizer, an entree, a salad, a burger, and a dessert. Those are the 5 things. Whatever outside of that you want to do, more power to you. My request is that you work 50 hours a week in the restaurant. If you work 40, and our food cost and our labor cost doesn't go up, then I'm really good with it as our consistency's there. If you do 70 hours a week, that's your fault. That's your responsibility. I'm not scheduling you there. You need to work those hours to get it done. And with this being said, I need sanitation. I need proper labor costing to happen. And you have these conversations with your chefs and you give them 30 days to comply. At the end of that 30-day period, you then have a second conversation with them. Okay, here's where we are. Your specials have been great. Your inventory is coming in online. It's exactly where we need it to be. Our labor's super high right now, and I'm not happy with the sanitation in the kitchen. We're going to work on this for an additional 30 days. I'm going to give you 30 days to fix that problem. Okay. And then after that 30 days, then we've got to start talking about a termination process. Based on where we were before, we did not accomplish what it is that we needed to accomplish. So here's where we are. I'm going to start to look to replace you unless you have the ability to make a change real fast for what we need to do. So you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot in one way, because we all know what happens when we're being reprimanded or conversed with about something like that. Chances are it's not going to happen. But I tell all my employees that I give them, here's a piece of rope, man. Do with that piece of rope. I can't find a piece of rope. Here I am. Now I'm failing. Pretend this is a piece of rope. I'm giving you this piece of rope. You can do with it as you please. You want it there. Now it's a piece of rope. Yeah. You can tie it around your waist and use it as a belt. You can put it around your neck as a tie, or you can put it around a neck as a noose. It's your fault. I'm not firing you. You're not doing the job that you're supposed to do. So I need to find somebody else who can do that. And I think that we're too afraid to have these conversations. Okay. Especially in the States, where most of our states.
Well, no. Chef, I agree. I think we don't have those conversations in Canada. You think you don't have them in the US? We do not have those conversations in Canada. We're too scared. We're too scared also that the labor's running the show.
Totally.
Right. And that's here
now.
Yeah. Is it down there too?
It's gotten really, really bad.
Oh, it's gotten really bad up here right now. And now we might be at a turning tide right now in the last year, or maybe half a year.
Right.
Maybe seeing that switch a little bit. But there was a time where the labor was in the control. So you were accepting underperformance everywhere.
That's how we are.
Oh yeah.
But we're paying $20 an hour now.
Oh, see, we did that. We did that, and now we're sitting there. But what's caught up is the living in the caught up the living weight, or however you want to say it, like the living dollar. It's caught up now. So it's like, okay, we're paying you high, but guess what? You're paying enormous amount of rent, and living is costing an arm and a leg now. So it's becoming very difficult, which is actually, I think, getting people to maybe lean into their businesses more. But the big thing that I see right now, especially in our market, and this could be I think it's the same in the US, is this younger generation that we're working with in our restaurants. They're getting, and this could be different. Like I said, maybe it is different in the US, but Canada, a lot of them are very eager to learn. And they're eager to learn to try to improve themselves. And I don't know if that's in the States right now, but we're seeing in Canada right now, they're wanting to learn because they can't go to the institutions. They can't go to school. They can't go to culinary school, can't go to business school. They're learning online now. And we're seeing this increase on learning. Like if you look at LinkedIn Learning right now on LinkedIn, there'll be 30,000 people taking a course right now on how to better themselves or whatever the case is. And there's thousands of courses there, and there are 30, 40, 50,000 people taking one course and spitting out 12 different certifications to help better themselves. But I do believe that's based on those two, the living cost of living is going through the roof and the wages at its max, because I don't know if we can go much higher on the wage side.
I mean, it's really tough to even be able to make that happen. We're seeing some big issues happening in California now, where we hit a $20 minimum wage that was happening to food employees. And most of these people got rid of those employees. So it was like, because they just can't afford it. I mean, no matter what you do, you have to make money. That's why it's business. Yep. Show business. Not
what? I have to say this to you because you inspire me so much, and it makes me happy to do what I do. I've said this since I've been working with restaurants for, I don't know, 20 years now.
Yeah.
I don't care if you sell a hot dog or a filet mignon. I don't give a crap as long as you're making money.
Yeah. Well,
I don't care. At the end of it, I don't care.
My very simple process is charge accordingly.
Yeah.
Why are you buying a shit product and putting it on your menu? I talk about this all the time, and I talk about things when I talk about menus and I talk about restaurants and businesses. I try to keep it at a very simple level. Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm not talking about the black cod that we just seared off and we added in a miso vinaigrette that's going over top of it, but I'm shaving Batarga across the top of it. That's not what I'm talking about. But in reality, I am. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
In reality, that's what I am doing. We have to charge accordingly. Look, if you want to have the best burger possible, then you've got to buy some really good ingredients. If I'm just going to put a shit piece of American cheese on top of a burger that's going to cost me $2.65 a pound, you break that down. Here's food cost again. You break that down. Each one is about a half of an ounce. I get 32 slices per pound. Like when you're doing that math, charge accordingly. Stop trying to build a menu based off of what your neighbors are doing and still trying to serve top products, because all you're going to talk about is how expensive the food is. Yes, the food is expensive. There's absolutely nothing that we can do about that right now, except buy shittier product. If you want to sell shit product in your house, then charge accordingly for that. But if you want to charge a quality product or have a quality product on your menu, you have to charge for it. I have a client who I talk to all the time. And a couple of weeks ago, he called me a couple months ago and he called me and he said, Brian, I'm going through the menu and I'm costing the whole thing. And we can't afford to buy Cooper American cheese. Cooper American cheese is the best American cheese in my mind made in the country. Okay.
Where's it made out of?
It's made out of New York. It doesn't come sliced. It's a pain in the balls. It's a pain in the balls. Because here's my world. I don't buy a slicer for a restaurant because it's like a $3,000 purchase when I'm opening my own restaurants and I've got a budget and I've got to determine whether or not I'm going to have a convection oven or a slicer. So I buy the best American cheese that I can buy, but then I also buy my guys the right tools to be able to cut that without it being a slicer. And I'm talking about a little wheel with a little wire that goes across it. Yeah. My staff stand there. But you know what I don't do is I don't bitch at my staff about their labor and their productivity all day long when I gave them that task. Okay. I gave them that task. I'm also the guy who, when I'm making guacamole, I don't want to just scoop an avocado out and drop it into a bowl. I want it scored and I want it diced because I like the way that it comes out. And I like the texture that it creates rather than just a mash. So for me, I don't fight with my managers, my staff, my chefs on labor, as long as people are being productive and they're getting stuff done. If you're going to smoke a cigarette every 7 minutes, then guess what? You're not being productive for me. So I've got to watch out for that. But if you're banging out that cheese the right way, and then you slice that cheese, we got to stack it on top of each other. We've got to put it in between parchment paper so that when I go to make my burger, I pick that paper up, I lay it on top of my burger with that cheese crisscrossed, ready to go. So it's a long prep time, but it's a fast execution. So I can serve food that much faster. But we deal with a lot of places that are like, oh my God, you're paying $5.78 a pound for fucking American cheese. Get out of here. What kind of guy is this? What are we doing here? And I'm like, we're making the best burger possible.
Yeah.
That's what we do. And it also comes down to technique and the other way. And what we found, especially after pandemic, with a lot of people who were making a lot less money than they're making right now, and they were much more qualified, is that they realized that they weren't really being respected for what it is that they did. So now we've got super high labor. We've got people that are putting big menus out there, but we've only got a quarter, or not even a quarter. We've got 75% of the staff that we had before, but now we're still expecting them to produce when we had 100%. So it's like, we've got to be realistic. So cut your menus back. I just posted 12 seconds ago that said what I said in the thing. I would rather have 25 items on my menu that I execute perfectly than have 50 and now I suck half the time. Because
we used to say either be really good at 3 things, be amazing at 3 things, or shitty at 8.
Right. Exactly. Same concept. That same way. You walk into some of these restaurants and a lot of these chefs are trying to, and a lot of people are starting to say to me, like, hey, you're not really a chef guy anymore. Now you're turning into an operations guy. But this is a business that we're in. And what I talked about the other day, which is like, now I'm interviewing executive chefs who don't know executive responsibilities. So we now, instead of me hiring or trying to interview for an executive chef that I'm going to pay, I have somebody right now, a client who's looking for a chef for $350,000 a year.
Are you kidding me?
It's a corporate executive chef. They've got a huge amount of responsibility. The people that are applying for this job, 75% of them are sous chefs at best.
At best.
And now look, I'm a shoot for the moon guy, dude. I'm the guy who says very simply, I can get the interview as a rocket scientist. I can probably get the job as a rocket scientist, but the next day they're going to know that I'm not a rocket scientist.
Exactly.
You know? So when I
Exactly.
interview people and I start to talk to people, and I would say 10% of the people that I interview, and this is aggressive, 10% of the people that I interview have sent me emails after the interview asking for a second interview because they felt that they were not prepared for the first
Are
interview.
you shitting me?
Because I ask questions, man. I ask questions as a chef. Number one, as an executive chef, what is your budget? How do you know how much you're purchasing? Why don't we talk about last week? Great glasses, dude.
Oh, sorry. I've got to keep close. Sorry.
No, I like those. Those are badass, dude. I'm a fan of those.
Well, I was going to say, you're fucking, I think we might be brothers here, brother. I'm starting to like the digs too.
Hey, that's my
I know I've seen the hat fucking collection. It's pretty. I should have gave you one of my hats when I was there. I didn't even think of that. I have to send you one.
Yeah. I mean, we've got to ask the right questions when we're talking to people. A lot of people, they just want to get a chef in who can cook. Well, that's great, but who's going to oversee the restaurant? Who's going to oversee what's happening in the kitchen? And then when you hire a chef who is a very direct chef de cuisine, as opposed to a corporate or an executive chef, then what you're doing is you're selling yourself short on your business.
Yeah.
You need to have somebody who can help that person and oversee them. So I spend probably 10 to 15 hours a week on the phone just coaching chefs.
Jesus.
And the ones that you get to talk to and the ones who are really into it, and I've got a property right now, and the guy's a wonderful human being. He's a great family man. He shows up for work every day. He treats his staff really well. His food cost is horrific. His purchases are astronomical. His consistency is mediocre at best. But you know what? He's a really nice guy. He's just not the sharpest guy in the shed. And so I'm spending a lot of time with him to coach him because nobody's ever done that before.
Yeah.
And I have people who ask me all the time. I had a kid who walked up to me after the session on Monday, and he said, "I'm working with this chef right now. I've been there for 3 months, and he's not sharing information with me on things that I should know." I said, "Then get out, get up and go. You're 25 years old, dude. When are you going to learn about food costs more than right now at this moment? Chef, can I help you do inventory? I'll come in for free." A good chef is going to say, "Yes, you can come in. Don't worry about coming in for free. Clock in and do it with me." Because in reality, the $40 for the 2 hours that it's going to take me to do the inventory, and it's little stuff, left to right, top to bottom, never go shelved or never go sheet to shelf, like little things like that nobody talks about. And then when you go through it, let's discuss par levels. Let's talk about what's being prepared out of that product. It's the same as when I tell my chefs, one of the things I want from you is I want you to spend 1 hour a week with every employee in the kitchen, dishwasher, all the way up to chef or chef or sous. Like, why would you not, man? Spend an hour with the dishwasher and watch what they're doing. Maybe you have a trick, or maybe they're going to show you a trick, but it's that little bit of respect that people want now, because I think that the millennials, yes, they want to do stuff, but I also think that they want to be inspired and they want to be educated.
Oh, hands down. I was working on some of that the other day, just on the inspiration. I said, I'll take someone that's inspired over someone that isn't any day, based on skill set, right?
Yeah.
Someone that doesn't have the skill, but has they're inspired, they got the motivation. Don't hire based on skill, hire, but based on that motivation, inspiration, inspire. I more than agree with you on that. I think because we've also lost that. We've lost a lot of the ways of inspiring people. Like, you inspire the shit out of me, by the way, chef.
Thanks,
but that's the thing. And I have to say this to you, and this is not to blow air up your ass. You are almost, I don't even know how to explain it, because the way that you think, trust me, like, we're on the same path here, because I think the same way. I feel like sometimes we're like 12 miles ahead of where the situation's at, because we're thinking, like, you're probably thinking weather, you're probably thinking how people are going to receive the product, the dish, the food, the cost, the labor. You've got this whole thing mapping out in your head that is almost like you're an artist playing, you're the conductor out of a symphony. You've got that, right? Like, this stuff. And Steve Jobs was that way. He was that way too. He could see for way ahead, and he knows that. And if you watch the one movie, the guy says, "I don't know how to play all these things perfectly, but I'm the conductor. I know
Yeah.
you just sit in your aisle and be quiet and sit in your chair, and I'll make you a rock star. And I see that with you, and I love listening to you talk, and I love the way you see things because you're so far ahead of the situation at the moment. And I hope people, and I'm guaranteed that's why you're so successful, see that because that is incredible. Your skills are mind blowing, dude.
Nice.
Like the way you're talking, like the way you're seeing things, like I get it because I'm there. I understand. I've been doing this too a long time. But when you hear that, it's gorgeous. Like it's beautiful the way you talk and how you see things so clear. Like you must see a restaurant in a different lens than like I would love to just take your the way you see it. You must sit in a restaurant and it must be almost slow motion of seeing everything on how it works. It must be like
One of my
in
favorite
this
things.
moment.
One, thank you very much for that. I really do appreciate that. And I attribute it to one, I've been in this industry for 30 years. And I talk about the fact that there's a 10-year time frame. There's the first 10 years of my career. That's never going to change. It's never going to change. There's nothing I can do to make that change. But my last 10 are ever evolving. They're changing every single day. A conversation that I have with somebody this morning is impacting what it is that I'm going to do tomorrow, which is another day in my 10-year time frame. So if we get out of the world of look, I still use fucking Excel spreadsheets on my inventory, brother. Why? Because
So do you and 90 other percentage of all the other chefs in the world.
Now everybody's like, oh, I can get extra chef, or I can get this guy, or I can get that program, or I can get this. But the problem with those programs is we're dummying down the craft of
The
what
fundamentals too.
which is not just creativity, it's organization. And if my invoices are coming into my computer prior to me looking at them, I don't know what the new price is. Like today, guess what? Romaine just had an increase again. Guess what? The cheese sauce that I'm buying for a property in Cincinnati just increased again. Guess what? Asparagus went down. It's like looking at these things and doing it on a daily basis. It happens. And I know that because I look at inventory and I look at the numbers and the invoices when they come in. And I make a phone call to my purveyor and go, dude, what the fuck? My bread went up $10 a case. Like, give me a break. And he's like, oh, we had da. You know, I mean, it's like there's a conversation that happens there. But by opening up, and I was a dick, man. I really was. I left the Four Seasons in Philadelphia, where I worked with the godfather of cuisine in Philadelphia, a guy named Jean-Marie Lacroix, the sweetest, most gentlest, kindest man. He wore a pristine white chef coat with the sleeves perfectly folded, crisp. You could feel the fucking starch when he walked past you, you know? And he walked in every single morning and he shook your hand and said, thank you for being here.
Wow.
And at the end of the day, he said, thank you for being here. So that's what I learned. And I remember one day I had to run out of the restaurant and I ran late and I didn't say goodbye to anybody except for my immediate supervisor. And I ran out and I worked for free and I ran out to go to my next free job because I did my apprenticeship at the Four Seasons. And at the same time, I did my other apprenticeship at an Italian place, this super cool, old school mafia owned restaurant. I was never allowed in the basement. Yeah, it was awesome. Okay. And then I bounced at a bar at night. So like I was trying to figure it out. Plus I was going to school full time. So one day I left early. I ran out the back door. The next day I walk into the restaurant and Jean-Marie Lacroix walks up to me and he said, is everything okay? You left yesterday without saying goodbye. And I thought, how fucking weird is that he remembered me? You know, like I'm just a guy who works here for free, who works in garde manger, who little do you know, I dropped an entire fucking bowl of salad 3 weeks ago and didn't know what to do with it. And, you know, like I threw it out and just walked away. Whatever. But, and then, you know, and then I leave that job and I go to work for a chef in Florida who was one of the biggest pieces of shit that I've ever come in contact with. You know, I mean, he was just an asshole and he threw potatoes and threw plates. And I was like, I've been living in a fictitious world. Now, granted, dude, this was 1995. Okay.
Oh, okay. That happened. I was getting shit thrown at me at that time too, chef. So don't worry.
Even at the Four Seasons, though, Tony Clark used to throw shallots and be like, that's not any fucking shallot. That's a Four Seasons shallot. And I'd be like, okay, chef, let me cut another one. Hit me in the back of the head again, you dick. But I learned respect and I learned all of that. And then I leave that world and I walk into this restaurant in Florida where I have a piece of shit as a chef who would burn me every day. You know, I mean, he would throw a pan and hit me across the back of the arm, be like, it's going to leave a fucking mark tomorrow. So I thought, well, this is the real world. I lived in a fake world. So for the next 10 years, I was a yeller, I was a screamer, and I apologize every time I talked about this to anybody who worked for me in that first kind of 10 to 15 year time frame, because it wasn't, I didn't know what I didn't know. So now my world of education, my world of inspiration, when I walk into a kitchen, the first thing that I do is I get on the line. Okay. I get on the line because I want you to respect me for what you can see me doing, not what you've seen me talk about. Because there's a difference between, as I've told my daughters all along, there's a difference between a leader and a dictator. Okay. A leader inspires you to want to work harder. A dictator makes you work harder. All right. And so I'll show you the tricks. I'll show you the things that I want you to do. And I mean, brother, I'm going to tell you how many times I have had an entire kitchen crew in the last 5, 7, 8 years stop what they're doing, do 4-part breathing with me.
Nice. Seriously?
And bend over and do some yoga. Just to pull it all together. Because you know what? We all look like assholes when we're holding our breath. We all look like assholes when we're bending over trying to touch our toes, no matter how fat we are or how thin we are. We all look like an asshole doing it. So if we can bring everybody together just for a second and take a breath and relax. And I talk to restaurant staff whenever I open a restaurant and say, everything you learned before is in the past. Okay. A very dear friend of mine used this terminology with me. To share what you have, you've got to give it away. And to do that, you've got to release that which no longer serves you. Okay. Yeah, it's meditation, mumbo jumbo, and all the other bullshit, but it's something that I believe in. We've got to release that which no longer serves us. Why are we still bitching about the restaurant that we worked at last year while we're at a new restaurant? Okay. There's no reason for it. Why are you bitching about what happened yesterday in the staff? Let's address it. Let's get it over and done with, and let's move forward, because it just holds us back. So
it does. The other thing I want to say something on that, Chef, because I'm blown away by everything. Well, exactly. Well, the funny thing is, I always believe that we have to find out where we stand. And sometimes when we figure out where we stand, it hurts. Like it's, I had this boss once tell me, she goes, I said, I can't get my team to follow me. I can't get my team. She goes, you know what? I hate to tell you suck. You suck at leading. And I'm like, it hurt, but you don't, sometimes it hurts. Sometimes maybe it doesn't, but you have to realize where you stand to move forward. And a lot of people try to move forward with realizing where they stand. And it drives me crazy when it's like, you need to know that this is where you are. This is where you are with your team, with your program, your restaurant, everything else. Sometimes your business, sometimes it hurts for the reality, but sometimes we don't know, because it's hard to go forward if we know that, you know what, your menu sucks. It hurts, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But at least we know now.
It's funny when I do those live menu reads, this is the first time that I've ever had people say that they submitted their menu and that they didn't want their menu read live.
Serious.
So that's what happened. We had a bunch of menus that we had to pull the menus. That's why I said what I said in the beginning. I want to establish this first and foremost. The guy that you saw me 10 years ago on TV, I'm not that guy. I was following suit for being on TV. They wanted me to yell and scream. That's what we did. And I knew that wasn't right, but it was for TV and it was an impactful thing. But now nobody responds to that. Now, look, if I'm standing on a line and I'm expediting and I'm waiting for a burger for 15 minutes, I'm going to raise my voice. The chance I'm either going to raise my voice, or what I really love to do is I love to sing. People know that if I'm singing in a kitchen, there's something wrong. I'll be like, I never knew we changed all the fucking recipes. Weird that my name says chef on my jacket. Yours doesn't. You're changing the recipes. Like, create a different environment. Change the narrative.
Wow.
I mean, there was a big scene that happened in a bar rescue years ago where I said, like, stop touching the fucking burger. And that was it's so funny how many people think that's funny and how much they love that. But that's mortifying to me to watch, because I don't ever want to be that guy who yells and screams that hardcore in something. And during that time frame, like, I was angry, dude. I was angry in that show. And here's the reason that a lot of people don't know. I was so embarrassed at the fact that this guy called himself a chef and his kitchen was disgusting, to the point that if you ever watched that episode, it was called Fairways, something like that. If
Okay.
you ever watch this episode, I want you to pay attention. At one point, the guy has a chef coat on, and then at some point, he doesn't. And
Really?
the reason why
Did you make him take it off?
I said, dude, you need to take the fucking jacket off.
Are you serious? No way.
This jacket. He's like, I graduated from culinary school, dude. I know what I'm doing. And I said, if you graduated from culinary school, then I want you to tell me, I'm trying to find something that I can play with. I want you to tell me why this bruschetta right here is fucking bubbling.
No
Why is it
fucking
bubbling?
way.
Tell me why. And he said, dude, I don't know what you're talking about. We just made that. And I picked up the 6-pan. And I said, take off the fucking jacket. And the guy's like, I'm not taking the jacket off. And I leaned forward with the salsa and I poured it all over the front of him. This was,
Serious?
I told you, I was angry, dude. In the next scene, he has the jacket off. But they never aired that part of it because they said it was way too aggressive. Like I was.
No way.
Dude, I went to school, man. I paid to go to school to learn how to be a chef. I feel that I'm one of the lucky people in the world who paid for an education, sometimes still fucking paying for it, paid for an education that I get to use every day. I get to use culinary math in making a recipe or writing a schedule or knowing about a cut or the proper way to use measurement or how to bulk or scale or do that stuff. And I attribute all of that to the fact that I went to school, because none of the chefs that I worked for during that time frame when I was growing up ever stood back and said, hey, here's how you do inventory. I had to run.
No. That wasn't.
Right.
No, you're absolutely right. No. Well, even today in Canada, it's still not a part of the. It's maybe a little bit.
And it needs to be, because I think that we have too many people that are afraid to ask a question about the proper way to do something. And I remember standing in the Four Seasons after I worked at Chili's for 2 weeks as my lead into my culinary career. I worked at Chili's where I fell on the floor. I slipped on the floor one night and I sliced open my hand right there. I've got a scar that runs all the way through here because my finger fell into a dish rack and it ripped it back so far that I broke my finger and I tore all the skin. And I went into the manager of Chili's. So Chili's, listen to this story. And the manager looked at me and said, dude, it's a shame you're not going to get workman's comp. You've only been here for 2 weeks. You need to, you can't use us as like your insurance or whatever. And I went in, I said, I fell at work. They ended up charging them anyway, but I quit the next day. Like it wasn't worth it for me. And that was my foray into the culinary world. And so when I got into it, I didn't really know what to expect or what was really going to happen. So I took as much of that knowledge as I could, but nobody taught anything then. No. Chefs taught you their product. So I feel it's my responsibility to make sure that we're teaching chefs, especially younger culinarians, the proper way. I'm sure you're a badass cook. I'm sure you're a badass cook across the board, but can you do an inventory?
Yeah.
Can you
but that's how many restaurants honestly, I've met thousands of restaurants across Canada, and it's funny, I can count on probably one hand how many do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Many.
Like it's.
Are we that busy?
Or try and just don't stay with it, right? Or try or don't stay with it, or you see the next year, well, or do it once a month, and I'm like, well, what if your problem started day one and you waited 30 days?
I say, and that's the reason why I do weekly inventories. One, I always have analogies. I try to bring things back down to basics, very simple. Does a banker leave the bank on Saturday afternoon and just walk out the front door before or do they count the money to make sure it's all there? Or are we just going to hope it's going to be there Monday morning? It's like for me, no matter what, even when I was a corporate exec and I had 17 restaurants under my belt or 17 restaurants under my watch, I still closed down a restaurant every Saturday night, no matter where I was. I still walked in and did an inventory and a protein count and a prep list for the next morning. And I put my order sheets together for Monday, but I called or placed my order on Saturday night. That way my sous chef on Sunday can be like, oh shit, we're low on chicken. Oh, no worries. Chef ordered 2 cases. It'll be here Monday morning at 7 a.m. It's like little things like that just make everything easier. Prep lists. Par levels, like just such stupid stuff that I walk into restaurants and I still have guys holding legal pads, you know, or everybody wants to use
Serious?
an app with something. Yeah, legal pads, dude. How about that shit? So it's wild. Hey, where are you in Canada?
Edmonton.
Saskatchewan? In
Edmonton.
Edmonton. I got to come up. I want to come up
This
and
is
hang
a
out.
podcast we launched. We launched
Oh,
that
nice.
for Saskatchewan, right? They had
Well,
to
I
have
may
their
have
own.
news soon. I might be starting my podcast back up. We'll see what happens.
You
So
should. You should. You're incredible, Shep.
it was
You know,
called
like the
Duffy
thing is,
Live.
I think we need to. I think we need more people like you everywhere. And trust me, I say that, but you're. I can see why you're so successful because you're incredible. The way you see things, and like it's because I have this thing when I work with restaurants and I meet with them and we'll talk. I am always thinking, especially when you get into menus. I'm a big menu guy. I love menus. I love working on menus. I love seeing them. And when you're
Yeah.
talking about them and like even listening to your talk this week when I was in Chicago, sitting there in just awe, I was like geeking out just because the way you see menus, I have some point like with same similar ideas when I look at them. I'm looking way down the road. I'm not looking at that moment right now or the big fancy, oh look at me in this and that menu. I'm looking at the way that it's going to work and it's going to work to
Yeah.
be successful. And there's not a lot of menu people like that or people looking at menus that way today. And they're pumping out so much stuff that's confusing. Do you find a lot of confusing menus out there?
Across the board. Because not only do I look at a menu, you know, I look at a menu as a billboard. I look at it as a marketing tool. I look at it
Yeah.
as an ROI for what I've got going on. And like I even said this during my class, when I build a menu that's color coded. I know that sounds weird, but when I look down at a menu and I know that grill is green, fry is blue, saute is yellow, and pantry is red, so that when I build a menu and I look at that menu, because it's not just about the food and getting the food out, it's
Mhm.
about creating a symbiotic relationship between every station and then the front of house as well. So if I have 15 items that are green coming off of a grill and 2 items that are coming off of a pantry, I don't have a balanced menu on a staffing level. So I try to balance items out, and I'll change a recipe or I'll change an adjustment or a presentation or where a product is coming off of or change a
Mhm.
prep list. You know, if whatever crispy onions are an item that I've got on a salad and on a burger and I want them to go out hot, then it needs to be that I've got my burger, my grill guy communicating with my pantry guy saying, my fry guy, I'm putting my burger up in 2 minutes. I'm ready for those crispy onions. Like being able to have that communication
Yeah.
that happens back and forth. And I'm not going to know that until opening night, where I'm standing there wondering why I've got all these burgers, no goddamn crispy onions on it, because the salad guy doesn't know that it goes on top of the burger. So it's like, and when I build these menu items and I look at menus, I color code them. Again, I'm a very OCD individual when it comes to the organization of a kitchen. I like counts to be done a certain way. I do protein counts every single day. And then my
Mhm.
protein counts the next morning go into my computer for the day. Okay.
Hmm.
So that way I know how many items I have, because we all know what like we have computer systems now, POS systems, that the average owner uses 10% of it. And that
Yeah.
10% is basically as an order taker, order giver. That's
Yep.
what it is. They don't use it for what it's worth. You know, you can put your items in so that as I have 50 Nashville hot chicken sandwiches, every one that gets ordered, it gets counted down. So then as my servers run through the night, I don't have to go, hey, everybody, just so you know, I got 2 chicken sandwiches left while a
Yeah. Yeah.
5 top sat and they're the greatest chicken lovers in the world. So this way we're able to communicate throughout the whole night. It's like, it's a method that was created by the Japanese. It's called Kaizen, which is finding what could be possibly wrong with a system and working the next day to do better. So if we can constantly be striving to do better, not only that, here's another motto I have for you that I talk about all the time. I'd rather be prepared for 500, okay? And then, well, let me back that up. I'd rather be prepared for 500 and do 50 than be prepared for 50 and fucked when I got to do 500. Now, obviously, that's a very large scale
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
between there. But when you look at what our POS systems do, after 6 weeks, you've now created a habit in your computer system. After a
Mhm.
6 week time frame, I can go in and I can look at an item forecast report. and say, okay, I'm selling on average 57 burgers on a Tuesday. So I would actually print out my item forecast for my line guys and girls so that they could look down and go, all right, I got 57 that I'm on average I sell today. I need 58 on my station because I always wanted one extra just in case. So by doing that, we're prepared. And there's nothing more fun than running a prepared line, man. When everything is at reach, it's like watching a symphony unfold.
It does. It does. But it takes a lot. I think it takes a lot of time to get to that restaurant, to get to that level.
Very
right. Because not every restaurant's like that. I'm sure you walked into what's the most disastrous restaurant you've walked into?
I might have to take my glasses off for this one.
What's the one you walked in there and just, you will never forget it? One of those moments.
Honestly, because I did bar rescue, I've had some pretty horrific experiences, but so I'll give you two. One was the episode that I did in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, on the show, that I walked in, and on the outside of the walk-in, there was black mold all around the outside.
No.
Okay. They had chicken that was laying out that was at 70 degrees. The cutting board had black mold on it because what do we do with our cutting boards? We stack them on top of each other at the end of the night. And then what happens when moisture and humidity combine, scientifically shown, it creates a bacteria that starts to grow. So that's why my cutting boards, at the end of every night, I put my cutting boards back on their station where they belong, and I take a B&B plate, weird, and I put it underneath of it to create circulation that runs through the whole thing. My kitchens at the end of every day are set up for the next morning, including my steam tables. My steam table is going to have a 6-pan in it and then a 4-ounce scoop. Behind that, 2 6-pounds, a 2-ounce, a 2-ounce. Because what do we spend in our mornings running around trying to do? Find the proper equipment of where. I was going to
say, find the insert.
So set yourself up for success.
That language is in through my head, like my PTSD.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like little things like that we just don't put into our daily routine. Look, my clients, I'll show you something. Hold on.
Okay.
I'm going to show you something real quick. Let me go here. HOM. Okay. Do you know what that is?
Okay, it's a list of something.
Yeah, that's my prep list and my protein count. Do you know how many of those I have? I have every one of them. Do you know why?
Really?
Because they send it to me at the end of every day. And
they take a picture of it and they send it to you?
And these are not my individual restaurants. These are restaurants that I monitor. And the reason why I do this is because I can then say stuff like, hey guys, your item usage report and your item forecast are great measures of a time frame. I typically follow a 60-day time range. Maximize the output of your people, not the extended life of a printer cartridge. I try to get people to look at a prep list as just something that has to be done for the next day. But here's another thing. How many people are doing a prep list in the morning? What happens to your prep crew? They walk in the morning, they stand around for 45 minutes while we're trying to get a prep list done. Why is our prep list not being done for 15 minutes at the end of the night so that my crew can walk in the morning and just start working?
Yeah.
Right off
opposed
the bat,
to sitting there. Yeah. No, that totally makes sense because they'll also complain too in the morning.
Right, exactly. But now I've just
and bitch at the night crew.
Yeah, and all they do is complain. But here's the thing. What I always say to my people and everybody who works with me in a kitchen, my day crew is there to set up my night crew. My night crew is there to leave communication for the next day. We're also cleaning everything up, scrubbing it down, wrapping it up, slapping it, whatever it is. But I also do things like sets. So talk about, let's say, chili, my Cincinnati restaurant that does a chili. We do a chili set the night before, so that my prep guy walks in the morning and grabs a bus tub with 20 pounds of ground beef, 2 quarts of onions, all the stuff that goes in it, all the mise en place that's there is in a bus tub. So now I don't have a prep guy in the morning who's just hanging out. This guy now is ready to go because all the mise en place is right there. All he's got to do is grab the recipe, which we put right on top of it. Everybody's got a clipboard. And then he walks in or she walks in. They look at the recipe. They start following the process. And then my chili's done in an hour instead of 2 hours. because I was a little bit slow on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night, because this property happens to be in between two stadiums, a football and a baseball stadium. So during the week, we don't have as much sales. So my guys at night and girls at night are helping out for the next day. So everybody's helping each other out. My day crew is restocking stations. They're making sure we're prepped and ready to go. My night crew is cleaning up and setting the station for a proper open the next morning. And it comes down to, we inspect what we expect.
Yeah.
I tell you that I want a prep list every single day, and all you do is send me a prep list. I don't do anything with it. Then you're going to get bored of sending me that prep list. But if I communicate and I say, hey, it looks like we're going through a lot of citrus vinaigrette this week. Looks like we've made 4 quarts on Tuesday and 4 quarts on Thursday, and we've done that for the last 2 weeks. What I'm going to do is readjust that recipe so that now that recipe makes 2 gallons instead of just 1 gallon. Okay, so that we're not making citrus vinaigrette twice in the week, because look, it's for a salad. It's not like it's not like I'm recreating the culinary wheel here. I'm making a citrus vinaigrette.
Yeah.
Okay, that's going to hold up over a period of time, over a 5 to 7 day period. It's not going to lose any of its luster, any of its quality. It's going to be a great vinaigrette no matter what we do. I might have to shake it, but other than that, it's ready to go. So, and those are the style of restaurants that I like to work in. I don't want to do fine dining. I don't want to make a vinaigrette every single day. You know, I like to be super prepped and ready to go, blah, blah, blah.
What do you say is the next move for restaurants in the kitchen, chef? What do you think the next shift? Where do you think we're going? Where do you think we're headed?
Honestly, dude, I think we're dumbing down menus super far because we have less people working in the kitchens and the cost of food is so unbelievably expensive.
It's ridiculous.
Let's break down cost of food. So 4 years ago, we shut down the whole world. And we were in abundance, man.
Yep.
We had every single thing that we could possibly need was at our. Do you know? I ordered these headphones yesterday at 2:00, and they were here at 4:30 on Amazon. 2:00 in the afternoon, and 2.5 hours later, these were sitting on my desk.
Isn't that nuts? It's nuts.
Okay? So that's where we were at that time frame. So I like to just use this number because they're even numbers. So imagine that during that time frame in the United States, we had 100,000 heads of cattle that were ready to go. Okay. March, think about the time frame when all this happened. Coming out of the winter, walking into the spring, March being St. Patrick's Day, spring break, Mother's Day, Easter, all of this stuff is about to come forward. So we shut it down. So at that point, they had 100,000 heads of cattle that they had to figure out what they were going to do. They're not going to let them live and continue to grow. So they let them go to that full maturation. They slaughtered them. And then we went right to a freezer. Okay. So all of this product that we had that was fresh and ready to go got shoved into a freezer. I mean, I was buying chickens at my barbecue place for 75 cents a pound because I was getting chickens that were put in a freezer 5 days beforehand. So I'm buying them frozen. I'm bringing them in. I'm slacking them out. I'm breaking them down because my 16-year-old prep guy butchers chickens better than I do because I showed him how to do it, and he had to do 40 of them a day. You know, so it was like all this product was put into a freezer. So now let's fast forward to 21. We're still in a weird phase. We don't know what we're going to do. We're kind of getting to a point that we're running out of our back stock, but we just killed everything. And we don't have any new growth ready to happen. So instead of doing 100,000 heads of cattle, we're only going to do 50,000 because we're still super confused about what we're doing. And this applies to chicken, poultry, the whole 9 yards, produce, everything. Oh, yeah. So now we've got this limited amount, but the world is starting to open back up again. And we're really at a maturation point now where the cattle that we started to raise during that 21-year time frame or 2021, we're now at a full maturation at 2024. So we're going to see a decrease happening soon, but it's just not there yet.
No,
we're still paying. And the other thing is a lot of these fucking purveyors are still blaming stuff on COVID. They're still blaming it on supply chain. They're still blaming it on other stuff, which I know that's a percentage of where we are, but it's, you know,
it's not the full story. It's not the full story.
For me to be paying $75 a jib for oil is crazy.
It's insane. It's insane. It's insane. Because we're also, I don't think the consumers, it takes time, as we know. Consumers cannot accept menu increases that we're seeing right now.
It's tough, man.
It takes time.
Yeah.
It takes time. I used to collect a lot of menus, and I would see, 60, 70 years ago, steak sandwiches selling for, a little less than we are today.
Yeah.
But then I was looking at, well, a house was $5,000 to buy,
Right.
and and then I look at menus going, well, it's only increased X percentage from the 60 or, the 1940s, 1920s, 30s, whatever, to where it is today. And I'm like, well, it took a long time for us to accept that increase. Now we're saying over the next, 2 years, let's say, since the prices have went up on products, that menus are okay to charge $30 for a burger when we were $10 last year.
Yeah.
It takes the consumer time to adjust.
Well,
It takes time. It takes the whole industry, the whole market, wages and everything else to start to catch up. We just went boom, and then saying, well, people have to accept all these other reasons. Well, it's tough for the consumers to pay those high prices to accept. And then we bring in the value part. Oh, no, it's an experience economy. We have to provide lots of value to offset the cost of those products. Well, then we have lack of training. We have lack of value. And then it's really difficult for these operators to make that shift over to make success happen without using folks like yourself. It blows my mind.
One of the things, first off, when I build menus that have, there's a percentage on there that you are taking price. Okay.
Yep.
Let's be real.
And what do you mean by that? Tell me more about that. Taking price.
French fries are at a great price point right now. Okay. Everybody loves a French fry. And this is coming from a guy who's been an ambassador for the largest French fry company in the world for the last 7 years. So I know French fries. I know the varieties. I know everything that's out there. And I also know the price of them. 7 months ago, we were at $65, $66, $67 for a case of French fries. Right now, we're at 54. Break that down. 54 divided by 30. Do your math. You know where we're standing.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to put 8 ounces of French fries on a plate, which is a lot of French fries. Let's just establish.
That's a big portion. That's a good portion.
I can put 8 ounces of fries in here, standing up, looking beautiful. But I can also charge $9 to $10 for an 8-ounce portion of fries as an appetizer, with adding 3 to 4 different sauces with it, maybe offering 3 to 4 different seasonings. So you're now customizing what you're going to get, but I'm taking price on that. The average food cost when it comes into that play, when you add that stuff on, works to be around 21 to 27%.
Yeah.
Okay. As an industry, we like to hit 30 to 32. So I'm going to take price, meaning I'm going to add a couple of dollars, an extra $1 or $2 to that, to create a really cool appetizer. Because if you think about it, your basic sauce, let's just say we're doing like a spicy ketchup. Spicy ketchup is 9 cents an ounce. I'm putting 2 ounces on a plate. I'm going to do a roasted garlic aioli. That's going to cost me 16 cents an ounce. I'm putting 2 on a plate. So when you break it down that way, my food cost is low at a 21 to 25, 26%. But then my burger's hitting 30%. So my burger's going to hit 30% because my ground beef is $4 a pound. My average roll right now is running between 67 and 87 cents. The lettuce is up. I used to charge 25 cents for LTO, lettuce, tomato, and onion on my cost for my menu. Now I do 35 cents. Okay. So like I've had to increase my stuff that walks along with that. I used to charge 10 cents for salt and pepper because I always add a salt and pepper cost into every recipe. I now charge 15. Okay. So I'm adding those costs in there, but my menu is going to work itself out because I'm still going to have, like I have a poutine on a menu right now that's 37%, but it's also one of my number 1 selling appetizers at $15. By the way, I'm a badass fucking poutine guy. Let's establish that really fast. All right. I'm not going to play games.
All right. I'm not even going to go there. We're not even going to fucking even try that.
On your average sports bar menu, poutine's an awesome item that you can add. I've got an Irish pub. What do? I do a Guinness demi-glace on top of there. Am I making a demi-glace or a glace de viande every single week? No, I'm buying a beautiful product made by miners that's a base by taking 2 quarts of liquid and adding it to 1 14-ounce container. I have an unbelievable sauce. Okay. It tastes delicious. It's unbelievably consistent. Now, just know that by taking 1 3/4 quarts of water and adding in 1 cup of barbecue sauce, I now have an unbelievable barbecue demi-glace. By adding in 1 cup of Guinness, I have a beautiful Irish stout demi-glace. Okay. So little things that I can do to make adjustments to try to keep my menus at the right price. Those are the types of things that I try to walk through. So my
Chef,
demi-glace.
I used to, sorry to interrupt. I used to say sauces, breads, and spices.
Yeah.
You can change a menu overnight.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Do you know
Without
I do a
affecting
slice of
your,
bread, dude?
breads. You can do 20 cents more in a bread bun and charge a $3-4 more higher price menu.
Get rid of your giving bread away every single day. Buy yourself, and look, I'm talking about your average restaurant. I'm
Yeah.
not talking about a chef-driven restaurant that has a baker.
Yeah,
Okay?
exactly.
You can buy a
There's
beautiful.
not many of those in Canada, by the way.
You can buy a beautiful sheet of focaccia from a local baker for $12. I can bring that product in. I can cut it into a 6-inch square. I can slice that in between in half and put it on my grill real fast with olive oil, salt, and pepper. And then I can stack that back up and cut it into sticks. And then I can charge you $6 for that. And then I can charge you $7 if you get a whipped regatta cheese. I can charge you $8 if you want to go to 2 sauces. I can charge you $10 for 3 sauces. So instead of just giving shit away, turn it into a menuable item that my food cost on that is really 12 to 20%, because I'm charging $6, $7, $8, $9, $10 for it. But you're creating a memorable menu item at the same time. So if everybody just thinks outside of the box for a couple of minutes, look, it's like my breads. I get a pretzel roll in. You know what I do with my pretzel roll? And I did this in Florida. I make scores throughout the whole thing. I get a super high quality cheese, like a cheddar or something to that effect. And I lay it inside of there. And then I put it in the oven for a couple of minutes. And I get a cheesy bread with a big fat melted skirt on the bottom of it. And now I have an appetizer because I have all these pretzel rolls that I may not sell every single week, but I can turn it into a $10 appetizer that people are going to go fucking nuts for. So it's like, think outside of the box. Stop doing the same shit that everybody's doing. It's like I say, everybody's got the 5 same wing sauces across the world. We're all doing the same shit. Get a set of balls and do something different.
You know, it's funny because then we look at the ones that do and go, wow, look how successful they are.
Yeah.
Or whatever the case is. You know what? There is. You have to take those risks.
And I know that not everybody has, I don't want to say me, but I do think outside of the box. Not everybody has a chef who has that creativity or that knowledge to create multiple products out of one thing. But if you just pay attention, look, dude, go on fucking Instagram.
Well, I'll give you my thing. I tell restaurants, and I agree with you, chef. Instagram's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I say TikTok is a chef's dream.
Yeah.
Because you can go on TikTok and it's like, you can actually see what people fucking like as well. It's telling you all these creative ideas, but then you're like, look how many views. People fucking love it. It's a marketing and menu dream that and then you can see which ones aren't jiving with people, or you can see how creative people are or what people are liking, what the ideas are. It's a gift. We're like, do you imagine 20 years ago, we had these systems. Like restaurants, I think could have survived a lot if they just look at what people are liking on social.
Yes.
What are people liking on social? What are they creating? You know, if there's 10 million people liking a hot dog with some fucking weird sauce on it, then fucking put it on your menu. It's right. Or take it and do something different with it, make it better for your place. But it's a gift. These social channels are telling us stuff. It's a gift back to us. As much as we want to give stuff to these channels, take something back for your use in your restaurants. They're a gift. It's a gift.
I have a client in Cincinnati, and he does an unbelievable job on his social. He really does a great job. And one of the things we're doing is, Coney dogs are big down there, and Cincinnati chili's really big down there. So he was like, I want to create something cool. I'm going to do something really wild that's going to be Instagrammable. And so we came up with $1 million hot dog that we have on sale for $6 every week. Served on a gold tray. It's a beautiful.
No way. Seriously?
Yeah, exactly. It's a beautiful hot dog. We put a fancy shredded cheddar over top of it. You know, we do a super fine, long, very thin bias of green onion. That's our garnish.
Yeah.
And we have an unbelievable chili. But when we pull the chili dog out of the water, every time we get down to 2 dogs, we drop in 5 more because we drop the dogs into the chili itself. So now I've got like almost a smoke ring that happens around the outside of that chili. We also use a split top roll that we use whole butter and we griddle it on the griddle and get
Oh,
it toasty on the outside. We use a very fine shred of
oh,
white onion on the inside of it that we put that dog on, and then the chili. It's like so dumb, but social media has blown that hot dog up.
can we
Because
tell everyone in the world, chef, every bun that holds a hot dog or a burger has to have butter grilled
how hard
first?
is how hard? Do you know
I
why?
know, like,
Do you know why? You know why? Because we're looking at the difference between $140 a case for butter right now and
mhm,
72 for a case of butter substitute.
mhm,
And we're
mhm,
so focused on on a price that we
mhm.
lose sight of. One, world's going to give you shits. Okay, it's going to give you cancer. So
Yeah,
you're contributing to the bad health of everybody out there because you're trying to save $70. $70 is a lot of fucking money. But
it is.
use the right product, man. Use the right product and charge accordingly. Okay. It's just, I put, you know, I mean, I've got a cost of butter, whether it's a quarter pound, a half pound, whatever it is, it goes into my recipes. When I caramelize onions, I use butter. When I do whatever I'm going to do, there's a butter involved, like
Chef, can I
mushroom.
give you a recipe?
Yeah.
Can I give you a recipe? Okay,
Yeah.
this is my mom's recipe.
Love it.
So I don't give this one out. I've never, out of the 1,500 shows I've done, I don't think I've ever given my recipe out of my mom's.
Everybody
It's
stop listening right now.
exactly. Shh. Okay, so
Go
this is
vodka
my
next to the
mom's.
floor.
This is my mom's chicken wing recipe, and I swear to
Okay.
God. So I did this in one restaurant. I gave it to my friend. He owned a restaurant. I came in there. He did the 40-pound chicken wings, and he was going to do a special. He used my mom's recipe. So the next day, I go into his restaurant. I said, "So, gee, like, I'm all excited. Hey, how many of these did you sell? None." And I'm like, "What?" Because we fucking ate them all.
I love it. Love
So it's like I think they call it a Japanese chicken wing.
it.
So
Okay.
you take the chicken wings, you just do a flour, like a flour, little bit of I don't know what we call it in the US, but it's like a an all seasoning salt. You put
Okay.
into the
Yeah.
flour, a little bit of that. You do an egg wash on the chicken wing. Okay.
Okay.
Egg wash, chicken wing, roll it in the flour, and then you fry them in butter, not oil,
Yes.
butter. So they're
Okay.
butter and the flour. Then you do sweet and sour sauce, right? Make it up separately. You put the chicken wings in the sweet and sour sauce. You let them sit overnight, and then you bake them in the sweet and sour sauce. And then you take them out, cool them, serve them that way.
Yeah.
And they fall off the bone because they're very delicate because of them sitting all night in the sauce. So you have to be very
Yeah.
careful. But they are the fucking bomb. And but but the part is the butter.
Yeah.
And you're talking about butter, you have to fry them in actual butter. No cheating oil, no none
No
of that
world.
substitute shit. It's fucking butter. I think it's for every pound of wings, it's a pound of butter. So
So
not cost
I
effective, but put cost to the side, like you're saying. It's
But if you
about
do
the
it the right
fucking wing.
way, here's the part of that. If you do it the right way, so like when chicken wings were hitting a point where they were, you know, $300 a case. Okay, wings
Fucking
down here
crazy,
were
weren't they?
disgusting during that time frame. Think about that, you know. So I'm going to at that point Restaurant Depot where I'm picking up my food,
Okay.
and I'm walking down and I'm like, you know what? I got to do something different. People really like the stuff that I'm doing. They want a wing. Wings are super expensive, so I bought chicken drumsticks. So I take the drumsticks and I French them. I run
Okay.
my knife around the top of it. I push it down a little, and then I store them in a bunch of citrus. I store them in a bunch of fresh herbs, a bunch of different seasonings, and buttermilk overnight. Just let them sit in that buttermilk overnight. Next day when you come in, I melt down
Mm.
10 pounds of butter for 15 pounds of chicken. And then I
Oh,
put that butter in there, and I literally, very low heat, I cook them for 35 minutes in that butter. And then I pull them out, chill them, and then we dip them in cornstarch, rice flour, masa flour, and like soda, like sparkling water.
Okay, yeah.
Some herbs and stuff like that. It's like a Korean fried chicken on crack that comes out, and it's like glass cracking when you bite into that.
Oh,
And it's this like confit chicken leg that I serve 3 for $9. There's taking price. I serve 3 of them for $9 because the perception of
fuck.
value was there. When you look up and there's 3 chicken legs sticking out,
Yeah.
we were able to pick 3 sauces. So we would literally then dip them in one sauce, so like a buffalo.
Oh,
And the next would be like, I used to do this really funky like red wine ranch. So I dip it in a red wine ranch.
red wine ranch.
Red wine ranch. Yeah. I play, man. I try to take like classic American liked flavors and do cool shit with it.
The other thing I just want to mention, because you did say that on my mom's wings, the part that really was the killer, a lot of people, was you also had to use sugar in your chicken wings.
Yeah.
Sugar. And that created that caramel, like that, like you said, that Japanese kind of flavor.
The thing that I think that we're missing when it comes to teaching is utilizing little stuff like vinegar and sugar. That acid and that sweet balance that we have in so many places. I think so many people go for heat. Now, again, I'm not talking about your finer establishments. I'm talking about the average restaurants. How many of us are still fucking using sweet chili sauce? Way too many of us. Okay. How many of us are still using the same sauces that were shown throughout? Once it makes it to Fridays, like, you need to get it off your goddamn menu. Okay. You got to pull stuff when it starts making it into
100%.
situations like that. The other thing that I say is, when you see that McDonald's and Taco Bell and Burger King and Wendy's and Checkers and In-N-Out and everybody else is raising their prices, we've had to struggle with that for the last year to year and a half. We've been absorbing that cost. We've been sucking that up while they've been trying to find a way and do the buy right, because they do it all based off of buying. Okay. They're not running their prices as cheap as they are because they're ordering individually for each restaurant. They're saying, as McDonald's, we're going to buy 700,000 pounds of ground beef next week. Okay, so they're buying at such a massive price that they're locking their pricing in for a long period of time. Whereas us, I'm buying 40 pounds of ground beef at a shot, and I'm paying $4 a pound, as opposed to buying 700,000 pounds of meat, and they're paying $260. Okay, so there's like a way that all works out, but ultimately they've got to renegotiate their prices again with their purveyors and say, okay, this year we're going to buy 600,000 pounds and we're going to pay $3 a pound instead. So when all of those fast food chains are just starting to change their pricing like they just did, that's when we are the ones that we can now really take price and explain why it's happening, because everybody's ultimately has to raise the prices on their menu. So plus, we're at the highest labor rate that we've ever seen in the entire country in such a short amount of time.
Yeah. It's been hard.
Time frame, 16 to 18, almost 20.
It's
so it's been a big change. Yeah.
Well, Chef, I have to thank you for the time today. I'm sure we could talk till tomorrow, but I know your time's precious. We're just going to keep going. Honestly, I love this. I love talking to you. I love what you do to the industry, and I just can't thank you enough for everything you're doing to the industry and the inspiration that you're bringing people like myself. And I just can't thank you enough for your time.
I appreciate it, brother. The one thing I got to say is we got to change the narrative. It's that simple. These aren't the old school days. We've got to educate, we've got to inspire, and we've got to make we've got to make better menus for our clients. Think bigger, think bolder, think stronger, think better flavors, think better products. And the only way we're ever going to get there is by asking for it. And it doesn't start in the restaurant. It starts with the guest. The guest has to say, I feel like shit every time I leave this restaurant. Why is that? Because they're serving me shit food. We have to make noise, and we've got to make the change. We've got to do things differently. That's all I got to say about that.
That's how we end this. Thanks so